This is the Talking Spoilers podcast, where me and my mate talk about a specific game series that we have recently played. Now, within this episode, we are talking about Darksiders III by Gunfire Games, so if you have not played the previous games in the series, there are possible spoilers for 1 and 2. Now, if you do feel inclined to, make sure to share your thoughts on this episode and our opinions by using the like and dislike buttons, or if you want to go further and comment on our thoughts and opinions or the game itself, the comment section is available below. Enjoy the episode. So, the big thing with this game, right, is, compared to the previous ones and everyone's, reviewing and talking about, is the combat.
Yep.
Okay, so what did you think of the combat compared to the previous ones, and specifically, the lack of borders or having to rely on dodging and parrying? Well, it's not really parrying, but just dodging and then attacking.
I actually really liked the new combat style that they did. Dodging right at the last second and then parrying them. I enjoyed that. I can't really remember even how the combat was in the first two, but I don't think it was anything exciting, something memorable or a mechanic.
The first two were similar to God of War. So the comparison with number 3 is that it's too Dark Souls like. And it's not in terms of difficulty, but combat and gameplay. So the first two games were more, I'd say it was more combo based, and you were actually in the combat, you were fighting, you were hack and slashing. Whereas Darksiders 3 is mobility based. You have to kind of dodge every single attack that if the enemy has a weapon, you're going to have to dodge, because then you can actually hit them due to how many times they block or the damage they deal. You won't, unless you've built for health specifically, which is what I did, you can't tank shit. You can't just rely only on your incompetence to to not block.
I actually didn't even ask, did you like this game, the third one? Do you reckon it was a good Darksiders game? Or even better than the two previous ones?
I don't think it's a good Darksiders game. I think it's a good game, but not based on the kind of formula that the previous two did. I think it went too far away from what made the first two games special, because while the first two were essentially fucking clones of other games that have been out, like God of War, but with their take, the third was kind of too much of everything else. It didn't keep the same tone as the first two. The cool thing about the first two games was you had a structure similar to the Infamous games, the first two, how you had the first two Infamous had comic strips as your replacement for cutscenes and significant events, whereas the third game went full into the cinematic type of view. And I think Darksiders 3 did the same, but it took away from kind of what made it Darksiders, because I really loved the illustrations and drawings that depicted what happened in the past and the events that occurred in the second game, and I liked how they structured it in the first game. This one I was iffy, because it made it feel like it was a BioWare game in a sense, where the characters are just standing there and talking. And that did happen in the first two, but there was nothing really unique about it in the third. The first two games definitely did it better than the third one, but the game itself was solid. I don't know, it was a combination of the two. Would you agree in that?
I don't know, with the third game, story-wise, it wasn't anything amazing. I reckon the first and second, or especially the first, did a better job at gameplay-wise. I really enjoyed it. I thought throughout, I just didn't get bored, or kept feeling like I was doing the same mechanics over and over. It was always swapping, because throughout the game you're getting the new different powers, which you get in the first two games. I don't know. I just never seemed to get bored of this one, and it probably didn't help either when I played the first two. I was just coming off playing all the God of Wars for the first time, so I was a bit fatigued of a hack and slash type of game. But like with this game, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, story wise, it wasn't. I can't really remember story wise anything about it. Like the whole plot twist at the end, I didn't really care for it. But with the ending of Darksiders 1, I was really invested and curious about how it was going to play out. With this one, when you're like your horse dies, like I didn't give a shit. I was like, I don't fucking care. And then the only reason I gave a shit later on was like, oh shit, that's right. The first two you could ride a horse. Now I can't do that in this game because my horse is dead. But that was the only thing I kind of cared about. And apart from that, I'm like, whatever. The only thing that's kept me going was just the combat.
Interesting. So
Even oh, you go.
You've always liked Dark Souls, right?
Yeah,
You're very into the Soulsborne combat.
Yeah, it's just
like that. So I think
yeah,
that's why you would prefer that, like the style that it's in now.
yeah,
But the thing with each of the Darksiders games, which I think everyone forgets based on the like reviews and comments I read, is that the first two games were entirely different from each other in terms of combat. So I don't think the combat is a big issue. I think the relying on parrying and dodging was a bit too harsh, and they have introduced that other mode, but I didn't bother trying it out because I adapted with the new system. But the first two games were never the same in terms of overall combat.
yeah,
You like the second game focused heavily on abilities with your whole skill tree and everything like that, whereas the first game was the hack and slash. Here's your sword, here's your scythe, and here's your fist. Do what you want, and then every now and again use your Reaper ability, Reaper form, or not your Reaper form, but Horseman form, and use that like Blades ability where you like slam on the ground and knock them back. The first two were entirely different, whereas the third is exactly the same. It's just too different.
I did like the different enemy variations. The fucking like zombie kids that throw bombs at you at the museum.
They reminded me of Ewoks, to be honest.
Yeah, like I just thought it was hilarious. They actually do a lot of damage, but as soon as you get close to them, they're pretty much fenceless. So you're just like beating up kids. It's just so weird.
It's a shame you only saw them in that level, though.
Yeah, well,
Because they were an interesting enemy type outside of skeleton with a sword, just skeleton and demon,
yeah, like
demon with a sword.
The usual like Darksiders like stuff, skeletons and demons and whatnot. But with like the bosses and stuff, did you find it funny? You know when you first see Gluttony for the first time, I'm pretty sure it's Gluttony. It's like the big like, crab creature, and all you have to do is like throw like the boomerang at its four eyes, and then it just runs away.
I thought it was funny, but I didn't think anything of it. Like, it took me a while to actually figure out you had to throw the glaive at him.
Like I actually struggled with that as well because I forgot that you can lock onto multiple targets, so I kept throwing it at one eye at a time, and like that eye would like re-heal itself.
Yeah.
And then I eventually was like, oh, fuck it. Like I just got really impatient and I just looked it up. And like the first, I just looked that was the only boss fight I looked up. The video someone made was just pointless Kraken fight. That's all it said. And like the video goes for like a minute, and most of it's just a cutscene.
So that's the only thing you looked up about this game when you were playing?
Yeah, fairly certain that was the only thing I looked up.
Okay.
All the other bosses I didn't seem to struggle with, because if I'm going to look up something, it's going to be like struggling in a boss fight.
I don't think I struggled with any boss fight with the exception of Gluttony.
And Gluttony is the one where
he is the Kraken, yeah, and
and then like he goes down to the water section, and you have to get him to suck up those
bombs.
Mines. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But I only struggled on the first part because whether it was because I built entirely for health, like I had 50-something points in health at the end of it, and I was level 63.
Jesus.
And barely any into actual strength. I think that was my issue because I did jack shit to him during that first stage of the fight, and then he kept chomping me up. But eventually I'm like, there has to be a way to do it So I cycled through the different elements, and I had everything at that point with the exception of the ice element.
Mm. I
And
thought
then
that was pretty.
force actually stops you from being sucked in.
Oh, really? Shit. Okay. That.
Wait, you did
Oh,
that without
jeez.
what?
Yeah, I did not know that. Oh, that makes sense. That actually makes a lot of sense. What I did was when he did the animation, I just ran away from it as far as possible, and that worked.
Okay, yeah, because if you use force, it just you don't get sucked in and you can attack him.
That's
But if you get
oh,
too
okay. That's
far
pretty cool.
close, you get whipped up, which is what happened to me a couple of times.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know. Okay, that's actually kind of cool.
With
That's
that
what.
fight, right? How many times do you think you died?
Maybe 5 times. Like he was
Fuck.
probably he was probably the like hardest boss.
Okay, yeah, I died like 10. I could not dodge when he does like his whippy attack and he like sweeps the floor. I could
Oh,
not dodge that. And then eventually I just figured out you could just go to the end of the room
that's
and
what I
just
did.
stand
That's
there.
what's it. Yeah, that's with those two moves. I just went to the end.
And whether that was the intention or not, that's what I did.
Yeah, I tried to like jump over the whip and stuff, but it just never seemed to work. So I just gave up and just ran to the corner of the room and hoped for the best.
But I'm so glad like once you got halfway or a quarter of the way, he just goes down into the water and then all you have to do is redirect the bombs. Similar to the first game with the giant golem, which I
Mm.
kind of liked. After that, it definitely went the second boss,
Second boss was the
which
great.
was Wrath.
Oh yeah, sorry, Raph. Yeah, okay. I don't. Yeah, I didn't count it. Yeah, he's the second boss, but you don't actually defeat him there.
Yeah,
The second boss you defeat is like Greed.
exactly, yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
But it was like after Gluttony, there were no issues with the exception of Wrath because I just got slaughtered. I
Was
wasn't
that the
building
wait?
properly.
Was that the first time or second time you versed him?
That was the first time. Second time I one phased him.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I one phase all the bosses apart from Gluttony, but Raph was pretty annoying because he kept. It took me for ages to realize that he was just self healing himself when he kills enemies,
Ah, yep.
and I was like, "Why the like?" I swear to God, like I've taken out so much more of his health, and then I realized he's just been like destroying enemies that I've left for him to kill because I didn't want to deal with them. But that was like actually like screwing me over.
Yet most of the mistakes, like most of the troubles in this game, were from yourself. It's like a very simple game if you're paying attention, but if you're kind of like tunnel visioned, you'll cause more issues to yourself. And like Wrath, sorry, I had the same issue with Envy. I think it was Envy, where it took me a while to realize. No, sorry, not Envy, Pride, which is the second final
Yeah.
boss, and
Yep.
I only had issue with that because I stopped attacking because I didn't realize, like, I wasn't focused on her design, where her little shield cracks the more you attack it. So I was like whacking it every now and again, and then stopping for a long time because she was attacking or she was doing something, and I thought it was triggered to something else.
Yep.
But eventually, like 5 minutes in, bit too long, I I realized, and I'm just like, okay, just kept spamming attacks, and because I had so many points in health, I could withstand most of the attacks and just keep whacking, and then if it got to the point where I was about to die, just use one of the health things. Not the actual health crystals themselves, the Nephilim Respirate, I think is what
Oh
it's called.
yeah. I'm pretty sure you got given those. The more you killed, you would recover them.
Yeah, you would
Somehow.
have to, if you used one of the charges, you would have to kill enemies, and then every now and again, they'll drop something that'll recharge it.
Mm.
It's not based on how many enemies you kill. It's based on like RNG of getting the recharge.
Did
Or
you
you
end up
could
saving?
just buy them from Vulgrim.
Did you end up saving a lot of humans?
I saved all of them, but I got
Um,
15. I got 15 or 17 before I'm just like, okay, I'm at the final part of the game, final cutscene sort of thing. So I'll look up a guide and get the three others. It took me like an hour.
Oh, so there was actually 20 left. So it's 20 in total.
20 in total, yep.
Oh, sweet. So I did it without even bloody looking it up. Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Because, yeah.
I only used a guide twice. One during the game, like one during the campaign, and that second time just to find the humans. The first time during the game was one of the parts of the puzzle where you have to get the 3 swords. And she says the quote about the second game using 3 swords, 3 gates,
Oh,
like the
yeah.
fucking
Can,
beautiful moment.
can I guess what part you had to look up?
Yep.
Because actually now remembering, I think I looked it up as well. Yeah, it's when you're at hell, sort of thing. Like you're in like the lava pits. You got to get through a door, but you're missing 2 swords. One side's easy, but then there's another one where you have to light webs at the right time and then swing on it or something. Like yeah, it involves like burning webs and swinging on a rope at the perfect time.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, that
And
one pissed me.
you have to use the crab.
That's yeah,
It took me so long. Like I tried it so many times, different ways. Oh, maybe I need to chuck the little bug up into the hole and then stand on the platform. It'll spin around and it'll blow some, like it'll set it off. No, wasn't that. I tried so many different methods. I went back to the start of the mission. Maybe I forgot something. And then I'm just like, screw it. It's been like 40 minutes. I'm looking it up. And all you had to do was just make sure the bug was on the fire pit, eating it, and it's charged up, and then just hit the
yeah,
fire
that's right.
to the
Yeah,
left of you and go. Because when I first went in there, I'm like, why is there so many fire spider webs? And then I completely forgot about the one you actually had to hit until I looked up the guide. And I felt like such a fucking idiot.
yeah, it's one of those like, oh, for fuck's sake,
But
like,
once again, like that's another situation where like you're fucking yourself over by not paying attention or thinking.
yeah,
Because for the most part, you're not really thinking. It's just basic level design at this point.
mm.
But yeah, like having those little moments, it was kind of a wake up call to actually like, oh, I better start paying attention.
Did you like how when you died, you lost like all your souls and like you had to go return them? Like, so you had to go gain them again. And if like you died while trying to receive them, you would lose them all.
Wait, you lost them all if you died again. I did not
Uh,
know that, but
yeah, I'm fairly certain it's like exactly like Dark Souls. You had 1,000, and then as you get it, you have 10 souls. If you die when you have 10, that 1,000 will disappear, and then you can only recover that 10. I'm fairly certain that's how it is.
okay, yeah, because I don't think I died at any point like that. Like, I died multiple times and then had to go back and get it, but I never died when I was going back to get it. So, I don't think that stung out to me, but I liked it. It was like a nice, refreshing feel. If you couldn't kill an enemy, you had to do it again. Actually, no, I don't think it's like that. I think it stacks. Oh no, that wouldn't make sense. Because I'm thinking of the Fire Warden fight at the very start of the game, which is the optional chosen mini boss
Oh,
sort of
yep.
thing. And I wanted to get that done while I was there, and I tried it so many times. Any fight in the game, that was the worst one for me. I died more times than I did with Gluttony, just because it was early on in the game and I wasn't really fluent with the controls yet in the combat because I was just getting into the style that it was. I think I died like 20 times to it because it was just like at that point it was just one hitting me. And eventually I did it, but I got like 20,000 souls at the end of it because of how many times I died. So I don't think it was like that.
Okay.
I did like how it dropped the souls because then it wasn't just, oh, I got all these souls and then I died. Oh, better upgrade it.
Yeah,
It's like, no,
there's no
you
real
have, if
loss.
you died at a boss, you have to constantly do that until you perfect it and get the fight. And then you get your souls back. It's not just keep upgrading until you're powerful enough to do it. So yeah, I like that system. What did you think of the infamous 3 styled abilities where you have
Like
4 options? You have fire, force, ice, and what was the other one?
fire, ice, rock, lightning.
Lightning, that's it. Yeah, what did you think of those 4 options? Like the way they structured that, and like you get unique weapons for each set that
I
you're
like
in.
I liked it because the abilities you have to change your hair and whatnot to different abilities. What would you call like when you're like mana?
Havoc.
Like yes, there's Havoc. What's the other one where you actually become like a demon? Or is that Havoc?
Oh yeah, that's Havoc.
Yeah, so the one that's not Havoc, where if you're lightning, you can like summon tornadoes and stuff. I like those. I thought they were really cool. With Wrath, you sink to the ground in water. Lighting, you can like do that whole like hovering ability. I liked all that, but the weapons I just never used. I just saw no point in them.
Okay. I definitely used the weapons, like the other weapons in the game, more than I did in the first and second game, that's for sure. So I really liked how it was the selector style you want. Like you either have the hammer, you have 2 kind of swords, heavy blades sort of thing. I used them a lot more than I did in the first and second game, and I was like really happy that it was like that, because unlike the first and second, you could literally just switch to the other element and you will deal damage. You still had to kind of upgrade them, but they still dealt enough damage for you to actually do something with them, and they weren't just, oh yeah, I couldn't be fucked leveling them up at this point, so forget about that, which is what the first 2 was. So I was very happy I could actually use other weapons outside of the whip. The weapon I used the most was the ice, but that was later in the game. Up until that point, it was just all fire.
Yeah, see, the only actual other weapon I used that wasn't the whip was the hammer, only because it just dealt a shit ton of damage, so it was just a bit more unique than the other things. Yeah, apart from that, I don't think I ever actually used the ice weapons.
Damn. I loved it because you could freeze the enemies for like a split second, and it would help you when you're dodging the enemies. And
Oh yeah, true.
because I'm like so shit at doing that, it was an instant pick for me. Just go, yep.
Yeah, I didn't even know it had a fucking ice done. That's just how much I didn't give a shit about it. It just didn't help because I had my whip upgraded so high that when I got these new weapons, I was, well, what's the point? Like, I've already got this great whip. I'm just gonna stick with that.
Did you bother upgrading anything else?
I upgraded the whip mainly, boomerang, just to do a little bit of stun damage. The hammer and stuff I just upgraded, like if I had leftovers. But like I'd always focus on like the whip first.
Interesting. Because I did everything. Not to the max, but if I had enough demon statues or artifacts, whatever they're called, or angel artifacts. Oh, sorry, no, that's for they're for the little abilities you can attach to the weapons. But adamantium, I'm just gonna call it that. I know that's from fucking Wolverine, but I couldn't be bothered getting the real name. I collected so much of that crap that I literally just went through each of the items when I went back to Uthane and upgraded them to the best that they could be. So I got to hear his one-line audio multiple fucking times. Didn't think that was possible. Didn't think that was possible. Didn't think that was possible. It's like, fuck. I'm just glad it wasn't to the point of like other games that I've recently played, like Assassin's Creed Odyssey. There is much to do and many unknowns on our horizon, because he's placed right next to the boat. Whereas Uthane, they literally only had 2 voice lines. So I'd much prefer them having 2 voice lines than the other one.
Oh, that's what I was gonna ask you. What did you pick? You know when you find that demon guy, I forgot his name, but he's working with Samael, is that it? And who's in the first game? And like you can either decide to kill him or not kill him.
I chose to kill him.
Okay. So I didn't kill him, and I instantly regretted not killing him. But did it? Because for me, it did not change anything. So I don't know, when you killed him, did it do anything? Like, because nothing happens when you kill him in this.
Did you return to the Lord of Hollows, though?
No, but like,
That's why.
but like, you can only return to him. Like, can you actually go to him, or
Yeah.
like? Oh shit! Okay, well then that's why.
You probably missed out on like a whole little story point, and I'm curious
Okay.
what your final cutscene and endgame was then, because with that, that's what kind of he was talking about at the early part of the game. There is someone on Earth that is planning to destroy the balance, and you eventually find him in that like Scar area. You have the dialogue choice, yada yada yada. When you kill him, you get a soul, like you get his soul, and then you take it back to the Lord of Hollows, and a cutscene plays, and then you get another choice where you either kill the Lord of Hollows, or you fight him, or you just watch a cutscene. I watched the cutscene, and the Lord of Hollows just kind of like ascends or disintegrates, and then all he leaves behind is this little cross. And the description of the items, it's pulsing with power and like screams and whatnot. So you pick it up, and then it's a part of your little belt.
Oh yeah, because
arcanes.
I had one missing. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
So I missed
and then
I missed
that's
the whole
used
thing.
in the end of at the end of the game in the cutscene. So what was your end cutscene then? Because Envy betrayed, like, turns out the Watcher is Envy, and then
Yeah,
you
that
have
all
to
happened.
you teleport and you fight her.
Yep. So you fight her, and like you fight her in front of the council. After that, you go back to the tower. I can't really remember what happens at the council after you kill her, but you go back to the tower, and everyone's getting flooded. Like they're getting invaded by demons, and like the makers are defending them off.
And you see Abaddon, the Destroyer,
Yeah,
the
yep.
big
Abaddon
dragon.
Destroy. Yeah, he's there. You eventually go with the humans into the portal. It gets revealed that the black human survivor there is actually the other
Strife.
horseman. Yeah, Strife, the other
That was
horseman,
fucking awesome!
which is pretty cool. I was gonna. It was funny because before it was revealed, I'm like, "Fuck, this human's pretty mad." Like,
Yeah,
he's a bit full on. And then like it was revealed, I'm like, "Oh, okay." Um, and then after that, I think it finished. Like I
you could
can't
just get a
remember.
cutscene like in the first game where it's Lilith in front, like in a kind of hallway of darkness, and some voice is talking to her. Did you watch that?
I honestly can't remember. That doesn't sound familiar.
Okay. Well, for me, it was exactly as you described, but in the cutscene, once you beat Envy, the child council attacks you with a fire blast, and then you pull out the Lord of Hollows little cross, and the child council stops attacking you, and then Fury has this like really cool monologue about how this thing can destroy the Chard Council. Like, the Chard Council get pissed off, you'll never find out. That's what they say. And then she throws the mask that has all the 7 deadly sins in it,
Oh,
and
yeah, that happened.
it blows up, and then you return.
Yeah, that happened to me with me as well.
Okay, so
So I don't think it
did the
actually.
little cross happen with you, though?
Yeah, so like you do throw the cross that has all the seven deadly sins at the council.
So there
Like
must be no difference.
I
It'll
think
just play that regardless. It's not like, oh, you forgot to do this one quest, you won't get the real ending.
yeah, I think it only affects you killing him or not and getting that one item. Like apart from that, I don't think it actually matters.
Because that one item is literally, like, it is never used outside of that final cutscene. So, yeah, it's interesting. With that, like, with the final boss fight, right, it was pretty simple.
I died a couple times. Actually, I think that was the first like bug I had where I actually had to turn off the game because I died and then I returned back and spawned, but she wasn't there or Envy wasn't there, and I was just walking around the arena like like what the fuck. So I had to I had to get out of the game, hop back on, then it worked.
Okay. Well,
And then
my experience at the end of the game was fucking dreadful. It was
like that boss fight.
no, literally just the final stretch of the game. My performance shat the fucking bed. I could not go like 10 or 20 minutes without it crashing and seeing the report bug thread. I was about to just stop playing the game. It took me like 3 hours to reach the point of the boss fight. And then once I got through like the final Envy boss fight with all the cutscenes, once I got to it, I did it about 6 times So it would crash on startup when I was like collecting loot, building up to like just finishing off collecting stuff, finding humans and whatnot. But the worst fucking offender was I beat Envy, I got the cutscene, and it played the part where the portal opens behind her and she starts to return.
Yep.
It would crash during that loading screen.
So you had to redo it all?
So I had to redo the fight.
Jesus.
Had to just redo the fight, rewatch the cutscenes. I tried, at one point I got so sick of it, I just skipped the cutscenes. And it got to the point, and I'm like, come on. And then it just went, Epic Games bug report. And I'm like, fuck you.
Shit's the bed again. Jeez.
Yep. Restarted my computer, fucking went on Google, tried every fix that was on there, and it just kept doing it.
You know why that happened?
No idea.
Because you're playing on PC.
So
it's more superior.
Yeah, because you were on console, weren't you?
Yeah, it was just cheaper in console, so I was like, fuck it, whatever.
Yeah, and then eventually I got past it, no issues, and I watched the cutscene, and I'm like, it was worth it. Because, like, one thing that Darksiders does great, and has always done throughout all 3 games, is their endings. Okay, I think the first game has the best ending, where it's like, no, not alone. Darksiders, the horsemen come in. Then it goes to the second game, just because it's like, and the number of the horsemen shall ever be 4. And it's the art of it that makes the impact of those scenes like so big for me. And then the third game. But they're so tied together, like they're so close. Because the third game, it's like, fucking Strife was there all along. And it's like, what the fuck was Strife doing? Because that is, they make you want to get the next game so badly. Like, and continue the story. Or just experience what that character was doing. And, yeah. Like, I just love the way the games are structured. It's not like, they could have gone with the third game, or now we're at the part with the 4 horsemen, after they come down, after war breaks the 7th seal.
Yeah.
But they kept that structure of, let's explain each of the horsemen, and hopefully, if they get to the point where they can make a 5th game, we get a game just about the 4 horsemen, and the true apocalypse, which is, like, after the events of the first game, because it goes, war sets up the timeline, death occurs in between the 7th seal breaking and war dying for the first time, and him being freed by the Chard Council to stop Absalom. Fury is in between that time as well, because you see Uthane, you see Strife, and that's how, like, I don't know if you grabbed onto it, but she literally says, if you see war, help him in any way you can.
Yeah, I remember that.
And, like, I love that, but I also loved it because Strife had both the pistols. He had Redemption and whatever the other one was called in that cutscene. So, for War to get the revolver-like one in the first game, Strife would have to give it to Uthane. And for Death to get Redemption, something would have to happen there. It was like tying everything together even further. And I fucking loved it.
With the 4th game, are you wanting it to be, if they do make a 4th game, do you want it to be about Strife, or do you want it to be...
Strife.
Okay. Because
just fucking Strife. Nothing, like... I want the 4 Horsemen as a game series. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then Darksiders 5. Title it The Apocalypse or some shit. And it's everything that has happened throughout each of the games so far, building up to the climax. And just leave it at that. Nothing else. Because Samael is not the devil. He's just like a trickster, spectator, demon. We still haven't seen the devil or the Dark Prince.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have the main figure of the demons, and because the main figure of the angels, as far as I'm aware, was Absalom. And yeah, just like the 4th game being about the horsemen taking on the forces of heaven and the forces of hell. which is literally what one of the lines is throughout the game. But I just want it to be that. I don't know how they'll do it. Maybe I just hope it's not you get to choose which horseman you want to be. I think it would be great if it's in this fight, you're War. In this fight, in this section of the game, you're Fury. But they're always nearby. I'm really, really hoping we get the fourth game. And I know THQ have said they're happy with the sales report and everything like that. So hopefully we get the fourth with Strife. And then if that does well, fucking hopefully we get a fifth one. But if we only get the fourth one and nothing else after that, I think I would be fine with that.
Yeah.
Because at least we got the 4 horsemen. Because playing Darksiders 2 8 years ago, whenever it was, and after finishing it, getting that mad fucking cutscene, the number of the horsemen shall always be 4, and then finding out THQ went bankrupt and nothing was happening with Darksiders from there on out, was fucking so depressing. Because I love the universe of Darksiders. And yeah. Just really hoping that for a 4th and 5th.
I really enjoyed it. I wasn't probably too invested story-wise, but combat-wise, I just enjoyed it the whole way through. It's just a fun hack and slash to play. And it's kind of sucks that it didn't get, even though they're happy with their sales, it's kind of one of those games that, at least I think it's kind of a gem that not a lot of people will play, but it's actually pretty good.
Well, everyone has been giving it, all the reviews of major sites gave it shit reviews. And, Steam, it's mixed. Steam reviews, it has it listed as mixed. And I can understand why, but I think it's one of the best game series, and I think 3 is one of the best games that have come out recently to just be, reminiscent of AA games. It does, not everything has to be the best shit or the worst shit. You gotta have the in-between, and I think Darksiders 3 is exactly that.
What was everyone upset about this game?
Performance, story, and the combat, making it more like Dark Souls than Darksiders. Which is why I was talking heavily about that to begin with.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. For it to be unique, and I think that's what I was saying earlier, Darksiders is a clone of everything else, but it's a clone of enough stuff to make it unique on top of the story. On top of the combat, on top of the story. I think Fury taking Dark Souls elements, and I would say Infamous Second Son elements with how you actually have the elements, like fire, lightning, cold, and force. I think it did enough to make it a unique experience in terms of combat gameplay.
Okay. What did you... I was going to ask it before. Did you like Fury's character? Or did you find her annoying or something at all?
I hated her to begin with, but she grew on me as she grew as a character.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, it was... And I think that's, to be fair, I kind of feel like that's how the story developers... that's how they how they wanted you to feel.
Because she was rather one-dimensional when you first knew her. She's like, I don't give a shit about war.
Yeah,
Fuck you,
does.
Fuck you, brother. And then
she becomes humble to the humans and stuff, and at the
she's
start,
affected by the 7 deadly sins. And she becomes more harmonic, more human. You don't get to see enough of it, though, and that's a shame. But it still hits a bit of... it still hits where it should.
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite moments was Strife, in his human form, talking to Fury, and she was really depressed. She's like, there is no hope. There is nothing. And then Strife in his human form's like, man, humanity. As long as we live, we survive. We hope. And
does the whole Pacific Rim fucking...
It's fucking apes together strong. I don't know why I thought of the Caesar quote, but that's what I did. At the end of our hope, at the end of our string, at the end of our time, we stand together. I can't. It's a shame I can't remember that because we used to do it all the time. Yeah, that was one of my favorite moments. In terms of characters, I really loved how Envy was the Watcher.
Yeah, like the plot twist.
Not necessarily the plot twist, but her as the Watcher, like her enviness towards towards Fury. Just the way she played out and appeared. It wasn't like Mark Hamill as the Watcher in the first one, where it's I have my leash. Like this is you do what the council wants, or I will fucking hurt you. The second one was literally just be the best that you can be, or like it was questioning everything that she was doing, and I just liked that kind of like duality, I guess. To end, what was the worst part of this game? Let's do it in 2 sections. What was the worst part of this game difficulty-wise? And what was the worst part of the game design-wise?
First thing that comes in my mind, boss-wise, was Gluttony. He would piss me off, doing like 90% damage when he sucks you up and eats you. That pissed me off. Design-wise, sometimes I had issues with the locking on. I don't know, it just seemed when I had issues locking on, it was a pain in the ass to hop back out of it. If I accidentally pressed it, it was like kind of like too late. And that's not really, I don't know. I don't really have anything mechanically wise. There's nothing I can really say. Nah, there's nothing I could really think of that really have to nitpick.
Well, I think the puzzles, there were like hardly any, and I think that's some of the issue with like that comparison. They went to Dark Souls more than Darksiders, because Darksiders 1 and 2 had a shit ton of puzzles. Was one puzzle in particular, and that was the tornado in the desert area.
Yep. Is it the ones with the stones, like the giant rocks that go up?
Yep.
Yeah, that was annoying as well.
Those puzzles were fun, and like they were pretty easy to work out, but they were fun to do. The worst thing about them though is getting to the puzzles, because the amount of times I died when you have to drop down and run to the subway.
Yep.
I died so many fucking times to that. I was about to just like stop playing there and then because it felt buggy as shit. Like it was speeding along. Like I waited till it was at the very back of the fucking map and sprinted, and before I knew it, it was right next to me and I was sucked up. I had like moments where I was under the goddamn entrance. Like I was in there, and then my character just like dies, curls up in a ball and dies. And it was goddamn frustrating. And that was just before my crashes as well. Like where all the crashes started to occur.
Yeah, because once you get to that tornado part, it's kind of the end of the game. Well, yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah. And the puzzles in that area were, I loved them. There was one where you had to use your frost powers to halt the orb and then fucking pissball past it, so it drops down after the tornado starts to chase you. Otherwise, it'll reset back to where the original position was.
Yeah.
That took me a while to figure out. But once you do that, it's awesome how, because the tornado itself was alive, and you like burn it alive, and then it says thank you. And I thought that was cool.
No, that was pretty neat. Like I was kind of hoping for a boss fight, like with a tornado. Like I was curious how they would pull that off, but then you end up just like pressing like one thing and then it dies. Like,
yeah, that was a bit of a shame. I was honestly thinking Wrath would be inside it for some reason. No, I was happy with how it ended, but I agree with you that Gluttony was probably the worst. Like his first stage was poor. It's fucking terrible. That's all I can think of. Will you get the DLCs?
No. Oh, well, actually, I will if they're story based. If it's just like the arena one, then no, because I'm satisfied of like a hack and slash. Like I don't really want to play more hack and slash unless it's related to the story.
Would you play it again? Like, would you do the New Game Plus? Because that just...
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'd definitely do a New Game Plus though. But like, I won't go out of my way and spend more money on just doing arenas and like leveling up my character or whatever the reward is at the end. Because like, I just don't feel like that's that reward like that appealing.
Yeah.
But no, I'd go back and play it again. Probably not for a while, but I'd go back and play it again.
To finally end. Finally end. Where would you rank Darksiders 3 among the Darksiders games?
I actually really enjoyed it. And it was, for me at least, it just felt really refreshing playing like a Darksiders again, playing a hack and slash again, like a somewhat of a classic hack and slash. Not, well, not really because I've changed it all, but anyway, I'd probably rank it second. I'd probably go Darksiders 1, Darksiders 3, then Darksiders 2.
Yeah, mine's 1, 2, 3 in that order.
Yeah, I thought that'd probably be the case for you.
But Death was fun. I love Death's story. As weird and kind of bit convoluted as it was, I loved everything that was around Death's character. Okay, that is the end. Bye.